Welcome back to the Vinyl MX Post Race Show. This is the High Point Edition, the country club of Pro Motocross in Mount Morris, Pennsylvania. Yes, if you're listening to this voice probably does not sound like the usual one that would intro this, and that's because our good friend Lewis Phillips, the usual host of this show, is still a little bit down and out, under the weather with illness. On the bright side, our friend Lewis is out of the hospital now. If you want to send him some get well, some good wishes, DM him, send him some on Instagram, post on the forum, whatever. But Lewis hopefully should be back in action next week. So yes, I'm usually your co-host, Mike Lindsay. I will be doing my best to guide this, to run us through the information, to talk about the race in the usual about hour or so that we do this podcast, and see how badly I can mess up every one of these reads from our amazing sponsors, such as Decal Works, Yoshimura, Yamaha Motor USA, MotorX, and Fox Racing. Because of that, my spot as a co-host has been switched out this weekend, and we have the dark side, Mr. Jamie Guida. How are you doing?
Doing good, ML. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. I will just go ahead and tackle this. The irony, I am sorry that I have you on the show in your last couple weeks, but it is great to have you, my friend. Yeah, High Point, man. I got to go this weekend. It was a little bit of a mess on Friday. I know me and Sean, a lot of the guys, I ran to Walmart. A lot of us were trying to get mud boots and everything because we were expecting some pretty heavy weather come race time, and we almost made the entire day without issue. And then shortly before the second 450 moto, they did come over the loudspeakers, and just to qualm the conspiracy theory that they called the race in Jett's favor, they warned us before the second moto ever started that there was heavy wind, rain, and lightning in the above area coming our direction, and that they could potentially call an evacuation of the facility. They said that loud and clear before we ever started the second moto. And I will say, I know on TV, yeah, it rained, and I'll tell you, so we were all in hiding in the middle of the race. It was that bad. It started to clear out for a second, and then they called it as the rain picked back up. And within about 5 minutes of the race being called, being a SoCal boy, I don't see a lot of heavy rain, but I may have seen the heaviest rain in my life combined with the gnarliest lightning storm I've ever had over my head. So, yes, it was real. It existed. It wasn't mythical. We were all wondering if we were going to float away, fly away after the race. What were your thoughts, Jamie? Did you question the red flag at all? The old, we're pro motocross, we race no matter what?
No, I'm not a big conspiracy theory guy, first of all. So no, I think I said this on our show a couple weeks ago with the heat. Like you got to protect the riders, you got to protect the fans. So if there's lightning in the area, I'm not about that old school. Oh, we race no matter what. We're so tough. No, I want our riders to be safe, and I want our fans to be safe. So I think they did the right thing. But I did hear the conspiracy theory. I thought it was just Lars and the button. He hit the button as soon as Jett got into third and hit the button for the lightning, and hey, we're calling the race.
I mean, if you read the comments, people think, Lars might be the most powerful man in motocross these days as the HRC team manager. He's also one of the easiest to talk to. I enjoyed talking to Lars after the race. He is definitely, when I think of me side other than dealing with riders, Lars is a dream to deal with as a team manager. I wish more of them were easy to talk to. I actually spoke to both Scuba and Will Hahn after the race, so we were lacking a little bit. If you listen to the post race interviews and wondered why we didn't have so many, most people ran for the hills to the
Yeah.
rental cars to slide out of the property as soon as they potentially could. I was actually walking around in a full rain poncho, looked like a creepy serial killer going tent to tent to find any person that was still willing to talk or had not fled the facility in fear of their life. So yeah,
Yeah.
great times. However, because of that, man, I love Mount Morris personally. It is one of my favorite stops on the schedule. I know me and Sean joked about it from a content creator's standpoint, photographer, videographer. It's so much fun to shoot. It really is like it's, especially with the quad in the back, like it's got some big jumps, but it still has such a classic vibe since it still, falls into the valley like the original track. They haven't really had to like man build up, a lot of features. I'll say though, it's still, I don't know, looking at the results a little bit, kind of same old, same old. There's a few things that stand out to me, but I mean, yes, we have a moto win out of Eli, but Jett still seems to have solid control over this championship.
Yeah, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that Jett's going to be our champion unless something crazy happens. He just has so much control of what he's doing, any conditions. Like you mentioned the quad and just watching him lap after lap, huck those jumps. like it was dry. And he has so much natural talent and control. He's the next thing. He's the next generation, period.
Yeah. I think, it's been talked about plenty, but we're seeing more this year, his ability to control the race. Because, yes, we had the rookie perfect season, the out front domination, just starting out front. And yes, he's done that this year as well. But even the races, like at times I catch myself thinking this during the race, like, okay, Jett looks maybe beatable today. Like Hunter's running with him, Eli, Jacob, these guys are battling with him. And it may be for the first like 15 minutes of a moto, but it always just kind of, he can manage the race. And it's still, it's funny to read Jett, like, because he is kind of jokey and talking to him at, like, listen to the press conferences when he straight up gets hit with the question, like, do you have more pace? And I respect that he doesn't label it as like, yeah, I've got so much in the tank. He always dances around it a little bit and is like, well, it's really sketchy to push much harder, but like, yeah, I have something if needed. And it kind of shows because just right when you think, he's got his back against the ropes, like, oh, here we go. He's still technically in a sense is beatable. Eli did get the moto win, but in terms of overalls, yeah, Jett has a huge control of the race. Like, and I also respect, like, after the first moto, he barely beats Hunter in a sense. And one of the first things I hear him off the line, I believe it was Dan Truman checked with him under the tent, just, as they're starting to cool down, water is like, hey, was it you or the bike? Because I mean, I did see Jett, talk to his crew chief, like, hey, like this could be a little better or that. But Jett immediately just pointed at himself, like, nah, just me.
Yeah.
Like, he's to be that young and be that like in control of pace, his physical, his emotions, how he processes everything, like whole package. What do you do?
Yeah. Well, even when you see him when he does get a little upset, it's not so drastic as a kid his age would normally be, like so emotional. He definitely holds it together, and when he stalled, didn't panic, took forever to restart it. Felt like watching it and it just motored along, took off right back up to where he was. I mean, yeah, he just has all the tools. Like if you think about Jett, what is he missing? Is there one thing you go, oh, if he only had this, I can't think of really anything.
No, not much at the moment. Like I said, the only thing that's maybe, I definitely listening to him and Hunter, like they made big progress on the bike between the first couple rounds of California. This was their first week back in Florida since Pro Motocross has started. Riding where they're familiar, their tracks, their environment, and kind of putting the thing, the bike through its paces a little more. Talking to them, like they're definitely more satisfied. Sounds like they're still, like with anybody, there's room to grow. And with that, maybe we would see a little bit more like when Jett wants to unleash the raw pace, but that it's good. I actually honestly like looking at the weekend and the improvements. I would say, Hunter has maybe seen the largest improvement coming in this weekend. Yes, conditions are a little mixed, but yeah, Hunter went from being kind of that, coming into this, it was like I feel like the pecking order was very Jett, Eli, Aaron-ish, and then Hunter and Jacob were being a little bit interchangeable there for a while, but Hunter went right to being the I hate to say this, not the Lawrence brothers. There they are.
Yeah.
1-2, making it happen.
Yeah, I think you're right because Hunter, the thing that both the boys were talking about with the Honda was trying to get the side to side motion out of the front, out of the chassis, because Jett kept saying like back and forth is not that big of a deal. Forward backwards kicking, but right left's no good, and it really the bike looked a lot better this weekend. I did see it kick left and right a couple times on Hunter, but it definitely seems like those changes that you kind of put up some of the photos on Pit Bits made a big difference. And yeah, I think Hunter's going to start. He's been in a lot of fours and fives in his results this season. The two twos might be a little more consistent. Like I think he's going to be a second place threat more often than he might have been 3 weeks ago.
Talking to a few guys on the team, like, yeah, the stuff we ran on Pit Bits is the obvious. So at Hangtown, they added the corner braces up at the top, like right behind the head stay, those little triangles. And then I noticed they added a plate on the front of the down tube, basically, or not the down tube, like the neck of the frame going to the cradle. Anytime you see that kind of change, first question is like, okay, what else is going on? And immediately some of the teams like, I'm like, what else is there? And there's stuff you can't see it because it's in the back half of the bike where it's somewhere where I would have to literally be point blank trying to shoot it or something. So there's more going on the back side of the frame. They're balancing things out where energy goes. They went back to a stock linkage. then I know they said that was a big help for outdoors, which was similar last. They've kind of bounced back and forth there. I think there may have been some chalk changes. It's interesting watching too, because I remember talking to Dazzy back at the opening round, and he said the issue with the rear instability they were facing was a little more of an issue for Hunter because of Hunter's build. Him
Mhm.
being a little bit shorter, a little bit just compared to Jett and lanky, like in Hunter rides a little bit more centered. Like Jett was able to get away with it more often because he could get farther, back on the bike and control it with his legs if he needed to, even though it was still doing it. Jett could kind of manage it a little bit more. And I think that's part of also why you've seen them changing bikes a little bit is trying to identify, like in Hunter's case, okay, is Jett set up better there, or is it just the way he rides the bike, jump on Jett's? And like, no, it's not. Like his little setting change is not that different from mine. Like then just kind of hunt those little things down. But definitely with a 1-2 performance, I mean, powered by our friends at Yoshimura, rocketing them out to excellent starts again. As always, Yoshimura R&D of America is just dialed in with the HRC team. I always think one of the most interesting things is every time a new Honda CRF platform comes up, these guys usually have a year ahead of time on development. They know what this thing looks like ahead of time. And as always, it gives them quite the advantage in powering the team. So again, thank you to Yoshimura R&D for their support of this podcast. Tomac, 5-1 this weekend. Interesting because first moto, I saw, a detail that I think has been a struggle for Eli, and I saw it at Thunder Valley. His starts as a whole are, we always talk about, are massively better in the Yamaha days than the Kawasaki days. But still, a fifth place start, a fourth place start, a sixth place start, or something is tough. This front pack is good, and he gets, I feel like, a little hung up in that pace. He was struggling at Thunder Valley to make moves on the top couple guys. Track was a little in line, but then same in the first moto here. Like Eli's riding great, but when he doesn't quite get the start, it's like if he's coming from way back, we see beast mode. If he's out on the front, but somewhere in that top five, it just doesn't seem to quite work if it's not one end of the spectrum or the other.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. It took him a while to get going, it felt like. And then all of a sudden he put like two of the fastest laps of the race in, got to J Coop, and then just kind of stalled out. And J Coop gapped him again. He made some mistakes. And yeah, I expect him to, if you're gonna get a bad start, you gotta go and you gotta be on it and get up there fast. And he just takes a long time to get going at times, it seems like. And even that stall out, like I thought he would just blow by J Coop and go, and then he just didn't. And that's not you're not gonna be on par with Jett throughout the season if you can't be up there with him every single moto.
Yeah. And it's a tough one because you look at, okay, like a J Coop, of course, is that young, like Jett, J Coop, and Hunter are all a younger generation than Eli, but Jett, as we talked about, is like a generational talent. J Coop falls still in that weird middle ground where I don't know if he always gets enough credit for what he's doing. It's like, yeah, he's holding up Eli Tomac. And I mean, they were talking about on the broadcast. He's now the all-time podium record holder. He's almost got all-time in outdoors and supercross each as individuals. Like Eli, the longer he hangs around, I remember 4 years ago or something, when we were getting onto the earliest retirement talks with him, he mentioned, the record book stuff didn't matter to him. Well, he's going to end his career at the top and near the top of so many freaking records in our sports. Nuts. So to see somebody like J Coop run that, I'm not necessarily subscribing to, oh, Eli's like he does get held up in that pace a little bit, but it's also on par of like how good like a J Cooper and Aaron is riding that it's difficult for somebody even of Eli's caliber to get around them.
Yeah, and Eli did say in the press conference that he did kind of get stuck in that pace. But you're right. I think, say, an RJ probably almost moves over, not necessarily moves over, but gets overtaken a little quicker, in my opinion, than J Coop. Justin Cooper believes he should be up there, and is very impressed. I was very impressed with him staying up there. I would say I lean more towards Eli. Disappointed that Eli didn't make the pass than impressed with Justin Cooper, but whatever Eli's got going on, it's not consistent enough. That's for sure.
So Eli, of course, gets the second moto win. Tricky conditions, overall great ride from him, excellent pace, the whole 9 yards. So we have moto wins from Eli now. We don't have anyone other than Jett Lawrence with an overall. We're through our first four races. We're into our first break. We have a 4-run spree, 4 weekends in a row of racing after this break. Southwick, Redbud, Millville, Washougal. Then we go into the 2 week break, and then we have our final three. Where are we at with Eli in terms of overalls at this point? I mean, the default is he the first person not named Jett Lawrence to get an overall. And if so, how strongly do we feel about how many he can pick up still this season?
I would say yes, he's going to be the first guy to get an overall other than Jett. But then if Hunter or even AP got one, I wouldn't be mind blown. But I expect Eli to be the first, and I don't know, maybe two. I'll give him two at most.
Yeah. That's where I'm at. Like it's tough. I think, Eli will end the season no matter what. Next to Jett is the most, he will have the second most moto wins in the series,
Mhm.
but I don't know if the overalls will match much of that later on. Again, anything can happen. It's just every time I start to think Jett is beatable, it's not coming together. Maybe things will, things can always change the next couple weeks, but the way it's trending, yeah, and overall it's doable, but I
Yeah.
don't see anybody getting on a streak against him is the biggest thing. So that's the tough part. The championship, you can never say it's 100%, but man, it feels like 90-10, 90% Jets favor, 10% in Eli's at this point.
Yeah. Barring any major mistake or injury, I don't think anybody other than Eli really can beat Jett straight up. Bad start, sure, but just one, if they're all top, like all our top five guys are in the top five off the start, Jett's the best guy. He just is. Eli puts in some motos where he might be equal to Jett, but I don't know that he's better. So you just have to lean towards Jett winning the most.
Yeah. He's already 28 points adrift. The biggest thing I hope, of course, is just as the season goes on, I just hope we get some straight up bat. Like I
Mhm.
said, I don't feel like for the championship we're going to get that much of a fight. Again, anything can happen. I'm just hoping maybe we get a couple very like highlight memorable battles at least between the two. We get a beast mode performance against a really good Jett performance. Because the biggest thing, like watching on Fox, it's really fun to watch the difference between their riding styles when they battle each other. It's so polar opposite the way they ride the bike, the throttle inputs, everything. It's really fun. It's fun to watch on TV. But if you get a chance to go to a national this year and you get a chance to watch those two run near each other, I think it's a treat as a fan to just the difference of like the enamor of watching Jett go by. And then the feeling through your feet you get when Eli is just wringing that Yamaha's neck out, jumping and pounding through everything in his sight. Speaking of Yamaha, Yamaha Motor USA is another great supporter of this podcast and of our friend Jamie Guida there, the Moto X Pod. Yep, Yamaha. I mean, across the board, again, Eli is absolutely killing it on that bike. But then more in the 250 class, again, Hayden Deegan comes back this weekend and just ones it, and we'll get to that in a little bit. Just restamping. If anybody had any question marks of the authority that him, Monster G, Yamaha Star Racing, and his YZ250 had on that class, that has been dispelled after his performance again at High Point this weekend. Whether you want a YZ450 like Eli Tomac, you want the best 250 in the class, such as Hayden Deegan, or maybe an off-road bike, maybe a 125 or more. Check them out. YamahaMotorUSA.com. Actually, I don't think that's the website. I think it's Yamaha-Motor.com, but yeah, Google it. You'll find it out. Again, I didn't promise much with these reads, okay? Oh, moving on, moving down the list. Talk about Aaron Plessinger. I mean,
Mm.
Aaron, I'm always impressed by the fact that, Aaron had a pretty good 250 career, but not like an absolute chart topping one. Great results, championships. I'm just always still impressed. Aaron keeps finding more in the 450 class. I know he was really, even though he got third in the first moto, he was very bummed at the end of that moto because he was starting to fall back and he literally comes off the track and is referencing to his teammate of the pits like he had insane arm pump. And he said something about his gloves like rolled under his finger. It was a really weird thing, but he was like disappointed. He was just he knew he didn't hang in there. And he was very shocked. Like, I mean, he walks off and he's hitting his arm and it looks like a rock after the moto, which,
Yeah.
usually guys succumb to that mid moto early, but he was at the end hanging on for dear life. And sadly, the mud did not play as much in his favor as it usually does. He had to do a goggle swap, which I think was smart because there was enough standing water on the track and the undulations. It's really hard to follow somebody. As soon as he put those things back on, I mean, he could charge right up to J Coop, make the move, but you know, again, just not enough time with the red flag situation to try to get any farther to get up there for like an overall podium appearance.
Yeah, I got a couple things with Aaron Plessinger. First, the goggle swap, incredible technique. They did a fantastic
Yeah.
job. That was really impressive. You said, yeah, he charged right back at the Justin Cooper, but unfortunately it didn't work out because he never really could get that close to him. He kind of kept making mistakes, and then a lapped rider landed in that puddle. I don't know if you went back and watched it, and just absolutely annihilated his goggles, and he couldn't.
Again.
So it didn't really work out as well as it probably should have. But I think if the moto had finished all the way through, it probably would have. But I wanted to ask you this. So in my mind, we kind of always thought of AP as like a second tier guy that could probably win here and there. I no longer think of him as a second tier guy. He is a top tier. He was great in Supercross. He's battling for podiums in moto podiums, and at some point he's going to get overall outdoors. I feel like he is elevated to the next level.
It's got to feel good for the Red Bull KTM team. We all know what's go. Like we talk about in these pods, we talk about rumor mill. Like, look, at the end of the day, Eli's going to go there and be his teammate next year, plain and simple. However, even before that decision was made, when they were kind of probably towards the tail end of figuring out if they could, if they were going to retain Chase or if he was going to move on, whatever was going to happen there, there had to be a part of it that feels good, okay, because losing Chase, it would have put Red Bull KTM in a position where the first time, in my opinion, since, Dungey retired, they had a 1 year where Marvin was the leader of the team. And like Marvin had been, multi-time runner-up at that point, but same was kind of not considered a downright title favorite. Maybe I would still even argue maybe at the time Marvin more than Aaron because of what Marvin had done the year or two before. So, they had 1 year with Marv only, I think, before they got Webb. So it would have put them in a position this year where, man, if they couldn't get another big name 450 guy, Aaron was going to lead the team. And at first I was like, man, that's a tough spot for them to be in. But Aaron has really shown, he is, yeah, he's not exactly the big shiny star that a Lawrence, a Sexton, or a Tomac is, but he's done damn well for that team. It still always shocks me. I get it; it's just part of their process, but the continuous 1 year deals, man. And
Yeah.
the biggest thing is fan reaction to Aaron is insane. You watch Aaron through the field, other than Eli. And it's different. Aaron gets cheers no matter who he's passing. Like the crowd comes unglued for him, particularly in pro motocross. I feel like more just that style fan. The only time I hear it louder is when like Eli's passing Jett for the lead because Eli, is the elder statesman, the American taking on, and not a U.S. versus Europe thing. Just like, hey, it's American fans. They get stoked if Eli's able to make a move on like a Jett for the lead. But they almost get that loud for Aaron no matter where he is on the track. Like Aaron has so come into his own. He is so popular. He is continuing to improve. Like big cowboy hats off to him.
Yeah, I don't. I'm actually disappointed in the 1 year deal this time because I think he's
Yeah.
earned a 2 year deal at least. Again, this is the best Aaron Plessinger we've ever seen, and he is capable of podiums and wins. It's time he gets his due, and I don't. The fan response or the fan love on top of that, he's worthy of a 2 year deal and the security that he's just earned it.
And in my opinion, our friends at Decal Works should probably demand a multi-year deal with Aaron at Red Bull KTM or even Aaron without because he makes their graphics look so damn good on the track and so damn stylish. Again, I didn't promise much with these reads. I'm trying my best, Lewis, here, but
Oh,
it's just
you're good.
not working. I can't lead into them. But no, Decal Works, the official graphics provider for the Red Bull KTM squad for Chase Sexton, Aaron Plessinger, Juju Bo Mare, and Tom Vial. And again, Aaron doing his best work from this weekend, getting the fans lit up, getting them excited about Decal Works. If you're also excited about Decal Works, check them out now on their website. Go play with their custom creator. Make yourself some graphics, make yourself some stickers. I don't know, just make yourself something cool for your dirt bike, for your helmet, for the back of your truck. I don't care. As long as it says Decal Works on it. As long as you are supporting the people that support this podcast. Thank God people support this podcast, or otherwise I might have said, without Lewis around for a week, I may have just not done this another week. A lot of pressure over here, man. A lot of
Yeah, it
pressure.
is.
Man. Moving down the list, 450s. Again, J. Coop, tough one. Like we talked about, a great performance. I think Savachi's the next standout, though. Man, this reminds me again of like when Joey first moved up to the 450 class with Monster Energy Kawasaki. It was such a shame that he was. I hate to say this word, but I think in retrospective, it's the easiest way to say it. He was sort of a placeholder for AC the 1 year. And I know there was always this talk about getting Joey back on a 250. I don't know. He's a damn good 450 guy. Joey Savachi is a damn good motocross rider.
Yeah, very consistent. You know, you're going to get good results out of him. I think his personality, his negativity sometimes on him, his disbelief in himself at times might be his biggest downfall. But yeah, his results have been pretty damn steady. They've improved a little bit in the last, well, since last weekend at Thunder Valley. So yeah, you can't be disappointed in Joey Savacci. He's very, very talented, very skilled, and I like seeing him like in the top 10 like this. It's good.
Yeah. Also, hats off to Yuriv Konsky, Martin Davalos, and the whole Quadlock Honda team. I know I talked to Yuriv at Thunder Valley for a little bit. Like, definitely Joey is their game plan, to lead the team going forward. They're trying to grow. It really sounds like they want to do, two 450s, two 250s next year. I think the default there is like a Joey bring Shane back. Shane stays with them long term, riding 250s in Australia and World and everything else they need. But yeah, Joey's really, really taking over well for him in that 450 class and is, very solidly without Ferrandis out there. He is the best non-HRC Honda, which is always a good thing to be. Anderson, I don't know, man. Just another 7/7 is definitely a heck of a lot better than last weekend. One factor I think that was smart on his part is we both know he talks about he's just not a scoop guy. I actually questioned a lot some guys still running scoops in the second moto because they're just so. I know everybody's so on the start thing right now, but it was so down to base and other things of that nature that it was good to see him. What's the word I'm looking for? Yeah, he went knobby and basically it worked out really well for him in the sense of having pace at certain points in the moto. But the same breath, it's just like I feel like we're just kind of all waiting out this chapter of Jason's career here in outdoors.
Yeah,
And
that's kind of it. Is like I've almost just succumbed to, okay, I guess JA is just a guy that's not gonna really battle for podiums anymore, supercross or outdoors. I almost forget about him a little bit, and I don't like that's disappointing because his talent level, he should be a top five guy consistently.
yeah. Moving through the field because we got quite a few 450s to go. At least we're talking about RJ Hamshshire, eighth overall, good pace again. He went 6A. Guy who actually ran the knobby in the first moto. Same thing. Said he was kind of trying to zig when everybody was going to zag. He a little bit regretted because of the start, but he rode excellent. And I'm going to
Bless you.
lovely part about podcasts. Still have to sneeze in the middle of it. Yeah, RJ was a fun one to talk to after the race. If you want to go check out our post race interview with him, he talks about the wrist issue, and I'm gonna sneeze. Get terrible. It was interesting. Like you talked about a little bit before, but finally this one worked in the sense of they basically removed a big chunk of the scaphoid when they took out the hardware. And he said this is the first weekend in racing, in what 2 years that he didn't have to tape his wrist, and he said he didn't really experience pain. So I know looking forward, he's beyond excited because he feels like on the 450, you know, he still has a lot of room to grow. Now the wrist is coming around, like he doesn't have that thing in the back of the mind as holding him up. I think it makes him willing to try some different stuff because before he'd be defending that wrist a little bit. It's funny watching him on the 450 because I hear him saying he wants to push harder and try harder, and normally you hear that out of RJ on a 250, and just the thought of it scares the living hell out of me. He's been so good on the 450 so far. I'm like, yeah, RJ, let's go. Let's push
Yeah,
harder.
really, really consistent. I'm looking at his motos overall is 9.778. His worst moto is at Fox with which was a 12th. What is he in points right now? Sixth in points. Just really consistent. And I think that's what you need out of a first full season on a 450. Just build. How much have you talked to him about bike changes since Fox as the risk gets better?
I did a little bit this week because he said he defaulted for the first round of outdoors, just kind of had to do whatever. So he ran what we would call like the work style shock and basically a cone valve spring fork because that's what he had run indoors quite a bit. Had no testing, just ran it. Wasn't super satisfied with bike setup, so he went to air fork at Hangtown, I believe, or Thunder Valley. I can't remember which one first, and went to what we would call like the kit shock, the one we could buy, which is what most of the guys are running. And I know this shocks people whenever I say it, but in GPs, almost every single guy is on the air fork. So he kind of went off that setup, but he said basing it off that it was too soft at the last round. So he said he went quite a bit stiffer this week and is pretty happy with it. But again, just talking to him like again, he's just got so much room still to grow and set up on the bike, and to see him performing this well already, like, yeah, he's got a lot of area to continue to build here.
Yeah, so I assume if he's going stiffer, that means he's pushing harder and going faster. And I think with him, he's the guy of this, say, 5 to 8 range, results wise. He starts moving up. Maybe he starts breaking into that top five, maybe a third or fourth, possibly. I mean, that if things fall his way, but I think he'll be the most improved after the break.
Hmm. I lost audio recording. That's cool.
I got it all.
That's good. Yeah, because mine just hates me. Moving on to the next person on the list, Cody Schock, top 10 overall. He's had those flashes. He was very happy overall with his weekend and basically told me 21 Cody Schock is no longer. This is the best version of himself. And he was just, yeah, just thrilled. He did it two different ways. Really good start. I think it was second moto was good start. First moto was terrible, either went down or bad start. He came through the field a long way. So he was very happy to kind of show he could get it done both ways. He could get the top five, top six start and be there. He could also come from 25 or 30th and get it done if necessary.
Yeah, he was sixth. It looks like lap one in the first moto. Yeah, and we had Shock on the show recently, and yeah, this is probably like we said a while ago about AP. This might be the best Shock we've ever seen. He's confident, riding really well. I mean, look, he's beating Cooper Webb and Jorge Prado, guys that you know overall, you think those are some of the best riders in the world of all time. Supercross champion, world champion, and Cody Schock is consistently battling with those guys. Now, whether you could say, well, Webb and Prado are not their best right now, doesn't matter. Schock is battling with two of
Yeah.
the best riders in the world and beating them.
Yes, sir. And another factor that I always say is like, guys like Cody, there's guys in their career that get that like one really good season outdoors and it kind of defines them. And while Cody, I know, loves, what he's done before, I also know he gets, I don't want to say tired, but like definitely, hey, if we just reference 21, 21, 21, I lived it with him, so I reference it a lot, but like he wants to be known for more and to see him get that second opportunity and not really everybody gets opportunity, but for him to take hold of it. Super proud of the kid. Like just again, lot to do there. Moving down a little bit, Webb kind of a so-so day. Want
Went
to
down
touch
right on
really,
one of the motos. Did he go down like lap the first?
yeah. So he's hanging in there. He's keeping the SMX points lead alive. Definitely not one of his better outdoors, but a good recovery, decent points. Benois Patel, I will say between him and Guillaume, Patel is doing better than I expected, mostly because, yes, he's on a team, like a full effort instead of Guillaume, but Guillaume has past better results. Patrell is coming on to, I feel like the Hep Suzuki takes an adjustment period for most guys. He's just been really, really solid across the board, and he continues to build a little each week. Like now he is more consistently knocking on that top 10 door. He's right there. We lose out a guy or two, and I think he will be there a little bit more consistently.
Yeah, didn't get a lot of TV time, so I can't say a lot about him. But looking at his laps on the lap chart, catching Prado with a minute and a half left, I think he got Prado.
Yeah, him and Shock got Prado last lap of the first moto.
Yeah. So yeah, very impressive. You can talk about with Prado. Well, it's first year over here, learn the tracks, same with Patrell, same with Gio. Those guys are doing it too. So I'm not going to use that as an excuse when you have that much talent. And Patrell, yeah, very impressed. I didn't know a lot about him coming into the season. So other than what I've heard Lewis talk about.
So let's move down the list, get to Jorge Prado really quick, man. Yeah, qualifying, there was a little bit of a fluke there with a timing and scoring issue. He had one sector that was really odd, so he deleted that lap. And he's kind of reminds me of Porcel. Like he only does one real fast lap. So in the first session, his second best lap time was like 30th or something. Like he
Yeah.
really cruises around, just puts the effort together once. Still, the starts were better. I know the team said they've been making the bike a little bit faster, a little bit stiffer. The biggest thing they've also commented, other than his engine comments, is yeah, he's. And I hear this conflicting because some guys that work in GPs tell me, oh, GP bikes aren't as soft as you think they are. But then again, somebody like him is telling me, like, yeah, he went too soft. He kind of based off what he raced GPs on, like feeling wise, and it's too soft for these tracks. So he's gone stiffer. They've made the bike faster. He had a really good start in the first one, at least going into the corner, and then kind of came apart from there. On one side, I want to say like there was definitely moments that it looked more positive than it has in the first opening rounds, but the overall result, like the poor man looked a bit dejected afterwards. I think he's really good about keeping a smile on his face usually, but
So I got a message from somebody within the team last week that said when he didn't finish Thunder Valley, it's not just the suspension he's unhappy with. He's or the motor. He's unhappy with the suspension. He's unhappy with the chassis. He's just unhappy.
yeah,
And if that's the case, whatever the reason, eventually it mentally that starts messing with you, and you kind of have to wonder if at this point he's just like, I don't know what to do anymore. And if he's not confident, then you see what you kind of talked about. Good start, yeah, not bad, sixth, but almost within 4 or 5 laps starts dropping 4 or 5 positions. And a guy of his caliber, that shouldn't be happening. So, how much of this at this point is just mental, where he thinks I'm going to do bad today, so I do bad?
that's definitely getting there. It's he's again a four-time world champion. He knows he can do it, but there's only I feel like so many weeks, like no matter how strong you are mentally, you can take this before you start to question maybe not your ability, but your decisions, your environment, just certain things that are going to weigh on you more than normally when you be up front, just extra things that you have to worry about.
Yeah, well, I mean, you have, let's say he feels like the suspension's not quite right. Well, then you start getting frustrated with the suspension guys. Well, the motor's not quite right. Well, I'm frustrated with this guy. Why is it? And then, well, the team's not doing what they need. It just all compounds, and it starts building and getting worse. And eventually yeah, you're just like, why am I even here? And maybe none of that's going on. It's just projecting or talking about it, but it's not good. We all know a lot more is expected out of him.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. It's tough at the end of the day. Four-time world champion knows what he expects of himself. He's on a team that has won a slew of 450 titles, but hasn't in a couple years. And I still think the toughest thing is the team understands the challenge in the sense of time. And it kind of comes back to how, like myself, Lewis, and some of the media have said it, not to downplay Jorge's abilities or try to pump up U.S. nationals. This is not an easy transition. Nobody has done this at the premier class level like he has since like Greg Albertine and Sebastian Tortelli. Like it's just insane what he's trying to do. The problem is I don't, in not a bad way, I don't think Jorge's that patient. I don't think he's that patient of a person. He wants to win now. And yeah, I don't know. At first, with the way the weekend was going, I was like, okay, the progress is here, but I don't know really from a mental standpoint if I look at how he takes it. Like, I went to talk to him after the race, and he kind of was like down for a chat. And his dad kind of like, "No, we're leaving," and they head out. And I wanted to really ask him like, "So are you happier this weekend or worse?" Like, I know the result has got to make him feel down, but like, was there those moments of progress at least gives him the happy? I guess we'll see. And I'm just maybe hanging on to something like, okay, we're going to a sand race, Southwick. It's very different than a GP sand race, but maybe it'll breathe a little more life into this campaign. We get the week off in between, get to work on the bike more. I mean, I'm hoping when we get to Southwick, we see an improved Jorge Prado, an improved Monster Energy Kawasaki KX450 underneath him.
Yeah, it'd be great. I'd like to see him up there and battling with the top guys, but I just don't think it's going to happen. I guess I'm being a pessimist, but I don't see any signs that it's going to get much better. Do you think, okay, last year, Prado, Geyser, Hurlings, those, top three guys overseas, if, if they came here this year, I don't see it going the same. I see it going much better. I don't think Jeffrey Hurlings or Tim Geyser is getting 12ths and eighths.
Yeah, I don't think so. I still think no matter what, we always underplay how hard the transition is. I think it all depends on like those guys. Yeah, if they stayed in a semi-similar environment, equipment-wise,
Yeah.
I think that transition is easier. I do think he's gone from really one end of the spectrum to the other in terms of bike you could ride. Staff, like not bringing a mechanic, anything. I think, yeah, you have to do what you got to do, and it's really tough being a 450 Premier guy. I would think on paper, the ultimate move is could you bring a mechanic? Could you do outdoors only your first year? There's questions I have. I
Mm-hmm.
understand why they went all in, like, especially because it's a long-term deal. They need to learn, but yeah, it's just going to keep plugging away.
Yeah.
We will see after the next weekend.
Time will tell.
About to move to 250s. Three little quick things to touch on. One, Malcolm Stewart, handlebar to the face, basically like an uppercut style knockout. He was beat up, but he will be back at Southwick. No problem. No like major injury.
Good.
One other call out I want to say, good for Bryson Gardner. What was he? 15th in Moto 2 on the beta. He's the test rider for the beta team, so that was pretty cool to see. And then Feel bad for our boy Benny Bloss. The team was doing 3 or 4 rounds to help them out in SMX points, and Benny just had a day from hell with first turn crashes. Did not score any points towards it. And SMX points are starting to become a discussion. Guys like him that are right on the bubble, there are guys coming like Prado and Shock and Guillot and Patrell. They're just clicking off pretty good points every weekend that are going to overcome them soon in the overall point standing. Because again, I think Benny sits about 18th. He's got Hamshshire right behind him. Prado, Mitchell Harrison is still clicking off decent points. Shock's in 23rd, but reeling in huge points so far. Like Benny's sitting on 131. Cody in 4 Outdoors has 74.
Yeah.
Um, Back behind that, you also, like I said, you have Guillaume and Patrell that are in the mid 60s already after only 4 races. Like those guys are going to break in. Very curious to see if they go through with doing SMX or not.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Um, that conversation will become fun to go. But yeah, let's turn our attention to the 250 class. And again, it is the Danger Boy show again. Hayden came back and just put down a very dominant performance all day and put himself back on top. Like last weekend was weird, Thunder Valley. You had a bike issue in Moto 1 that was a bit self-inflicted. Moto 2, I mean, straight up Chance was a bit better. Chance really clicks at Thunder Valley. It's a little bit of maybe Hayden's weaker ones on the schedule, but we're right back into, same performance for him. And with Joe having an okay day, I'd have to look at the points, but I think we're pretty, man,
I
he's
think
got
he's
to be really
48
close
up,
to getting
I think.
two full motos on like anybody you would consider a title contender at this point.
Yeah, I feel like I saw it was like 48 points.
Yeah, it's so two it is 42 points right
Okay.
now. He's up 42, so he's
Okay.
almost 2 whole motos up on the next best guy, which is Shimoda. Hymas was third in points with Marchbanks tied at the end of the day, but Chance, we'll see with the knee, and we'll get to that in a second. But man, it is just uh, this definitely makes me hope like everything we hear about this being Hayden's final 250 outdoor championship. Like there's nothing left to prove. This kid
Yeah,
is put it all together come pro motocross.
I
He
agree. It's a little bit of a carbon copy of what we just talked about with the 450s is the next guys down. If they don't get the starts and they don't get up there and run with them to start with, they're not going to compete at the end in points. And I don't know so much that last weekend, I felt like Hayden was sick. He sounded sick. He looked sick. I don't know. I feel like he was a little off. Not taking anything away from Hymas.
Yeah.
Just don't think we saw
No,
the
I don't know if we saw the best of him. I think we saw some of the best of Hymas. Again, it's a
Yep.
round where he got his first moto win. He said just clicks with him. But I don't know if we'll see. Do I think Hayden wins every moto out? No. But I also don't think at this point he's losing. He's not going to have somebody beat him with a 1-1 performance unless something weird happens the rest of
Yeah.
this year. Yes, some of these guys in the conversation can get a moto win on. Like Levi can click like how Chance did it. Any given weekend, Levi can click for a moto.
So can
Joe could. Still kind of out on Tom being in that. I don't know. Tom was better this weekend, but still, yeah. I please somebody throw it in the
I'm
comments. Tell me the round that Hayden Deegan is going to get straight up beat for an overall that doesn't involve him cartwheeling his brains out or trying to blow up a bike.
Yeah, he's the best of the field. Just much like I feel the same. I say, well, I'm stuttering. I feel the same about Jett as I do with Hayden. They are the best of the field right now, and it's going to take a great start and probably something to happen to Hayden to get beat to lose an overall.
Definitely there. So with that, we kind of have 3 or 4 guys all in the same level of conversation, but let's jump to Hymas really quick because the most
Okay.
news is around him. He looked like he was set to go 5-2 on the day, would have put him on the podium, but dabbed his knee somewhere like halfway through the last lap. Man was in a lot of pain afterwards. It's not the knee that he's already hurt twice. I believe it was his left one that he's already had to have surgery on twice. This was actually his right knee. And I mean, Chance is young. He's going on his potentially his third knee injury. You could see in his face. I said bye to him on the way out and just, man's not only physically hurting, it's hurting emotionally. And I can only imagine. So get well soon a chance. We don't know the extent. They're going to get checked out further during the break. So Southwick is a question mark for him. I would have to bet based on looking at him. I don't think it's good. So I don't think we see him back at Southwick, but things can happen. If that's the case, that kind of leaves us in that conversation of people that can go for the moto wins, your Levi, your Tom, your Joe, who do you feel the most strongly about out of those three?
Levi. Yeah, I think Levi. I just Joe just seems to struggle with starts, in my opinion, more than the rest of the guys. So yeah, I think Levi is the most likely, but Joe would be a close second.
Yeah. It's interesting because I know with some teams the conversation of OEM comes up and how good the bike is. I know there's still some question marks around the Honda sometimes. HRC has brought in some more help. I can't remember the man's name. Lewis knows him pretty well. That was the engine builder at the Standing Construct team. Has a really good reputation. So now he's joined their group. They have some other really good guys in that department. I think he's more focused on the 250. Dude, go back and look at the starts. Chance has been phenomenal the last couple of
Yeah.
rounds. So hopefully they can get Joe a little more figured out like that. Um, because then potentially I do think Joe like Levi can have breakout motos, but definitely Levi is the closest to that conversation right now, albeit a little bit of life breathed back into Tom. It's interesting that Tom is like the only guy I feel like in his boat in bike setup at the KTM group, Husky, Gas, whatever. He's still on the old chassis. He's the only guy left on the old stiffer frame with the without the window in the shock tower and has more around the head stay. So he's the only guy on it. I'd have to go back and look at those. I think he's still in the work shock and he's still on just like a cone valve 48 fork. He's like the only guy kind of in his world in terms of setup. So I mean, he's running something he's very familiar with, but he doesn't seem willing to really move away from it, which
Yeah.
I find a little concerning where it seems like everybody else is finding progress in the bike and he's just like
He
stuck
does
there.
seem to get kind of stuck in his ways. It takes a long time to change for him.
Yeah.
I was just looking first lap, Hymas 13th, Shimoda 11th, Marchbank 16th. How are you going to how are you going to beat Hayden like that? You're not.
You know, I'm just going to use the opportunity because again, it's a little same old time, I guess. I'm going to jump to Garrett.
Okay.
Holy crap. That man has, in my opinion, earned his existence. 188 pounds, 190 pounds on 250. There's been some decent starts in there, and there has just been motos where he is just bulldogging through the pack. I have been super impressed with Garrett outdoors this year. I've been super impressed with his attitude because I think I like Garrett because I think he's kind of a pessimist usually.
Yeah.
When I bullshit with him, he's usually always like not bitching, but he's always got like something he just like is like, oh, suck or this suck, just like da da da.
Yes. Yes.
Probably spent too much time with Phil for a few years. He's been really positive. He's been putting in positive performances. He's definitely got to be, him and Colin Park have got to be the two biggest guys on 250s, and Colin's not out there right now, so Garrett wins that award, and he is making it work. And again, he only has a 1 year deal right now. He is a man racing for a ride and a career, and I think he's showing it.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'll get to Master Pool in a little bit, but of those two guys that are sort of on the bubble of maybe they'll stay, maybe they won't, Marchbanks is definitely earning the right to stay if there is a position to open. Very, very impressed with Garrett. Also, is all we've always heard, right? One of the fastest guys at the test track at club when he was there, and just the way he rides during the week, and he just never has been able to get consistently good starts. But this year, and still, he's not getting the best starts, but he's riding,
Yeah.
it seems like, better than in the past and making up a lot of spots. So 7-4, not bad, really. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's been pretty consistent. His results are 6-5, 4-5 so far.
Yeah.
Pretty,
And the biggest thing I'll also say is he is really maximized as I just see him just destroying stuff on that bike. He is
yeah.
sending it in sections. He is really making the best use of if I'm not as light as these guys, I'm just gonna power through things.
Yep.
It
Yep.
is fun to watch him in the middle of the moto. Again, he's around a lot of guys that are light. They have really good technique, and he's just making it happen. And it's fun to watch him mid moto, especially getting through the pack sometimes. We talked about Joe a little bit. Seth Hammacker rebounded from big crash at Hangtown, which he kind of described to me that basically after we saw him first lap go down with Thrasher, a couple corners later at Hangtown, he tried to do that. He actually, the triple step up, he said a guy in front of him went to roll it, so he did, but the guy in front of him actually still tried to triple case and bounce, and he went double and launched off and basically landed on the dude's back and cartwheeled.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Seth has some shoulder issue because I've watched him have it wrapped up all year, and I've talked about like he has a little bit of a shoulder issue from dislocating it a bunch in the past, and it's like basically from the bone smacking back in the socket's got a little bit of a flat weird spot, so he's kind of irritated that injury. That seems to be what he's struggling with a bit at the moment. But first moto, there was definitely life for him in the hometown crowd, but overall an inconsistent day with the 314.
Yeah, but I think this. I think if you look where I'd have to look at his lap time or his lap position in second moto. I think he started dropping towards the end. So if you look at his motos as a whole, I think they weren't bad.
Hmm.
You have to be happy with that coming back with a shoulder
Yep.
injury, and then the shoulder starts hurting towards the end of the day, so you start dropping spots. But there's a good base there to build off of. He's what in 13th in points. He'll start moving up pretty quick as these rounds go off, especially after having a 2 week break.
Yeah. Do you know what did look fantastic though?
Can't wait for you to tell me.
I was hoping you'd get it. His Fox racing gear.
Okay.
Bold, untamed, and pushing the boundaries of aesthetic, style, and design. Fox Racing's new spring MX graphics, launching with the Hello Future, disrupts the status quo and makes no apologies for the interruption. Comprised of head to toe kits plus a slew of head turning men's and women's lifestyle pieces. Its spirited graphic and combined with dialed in fit, comfort, and construction sends a message loud, clear, and confidently. The future belongs to those brave enough to answer the call. Thank you to Fox Racing for sponsoring this podcast and also sponsoring the Monster Energy Pro Circuit Kawasaki squad, including Seth Hammacker.
Yeah, and he
Uh,
was seventh until it looks like around lap 8 or 9, and then he dropped 4 positions, 5 positions pretty
yeah.
quickly. So yeah, not bad.
Yeah. It's definitely been overall like Levi, Garrett, Seth having pretty good outdoors. Ties has been up and down. We'll touch on him a little bit in a second. We got to start bouncing through some guys real quick. Cochran, great starts. Still needs a little bit more longevity in him, but KC is definitely having a fairly good summer for a guy that's been hurt so much. It's almost like a rookie run for him. So solid for Casey. Thrasher finally had some life in him, some good starts, two top tens for ninth overall. Thrasher finally has gone from the abyss to being back in the conversation. Again, that's been a long road. And I talked to Will Hahn briefly after racing. I mean, he said like Nate basically has barely raced any outdoors in like 5 years, and
Right.
sometimes you just forget about those things.
Yeah, and I would like to see this backed up with another top 10 at Southwick before I start going, oh, he's back in it. But yes, going from what 38th, 22nd, 19th to ninth, that's a massive jump. Now we got to keep that going though, Nate, because a lot of talent, but yeah, he's been injured. It's been a long time since he's been outdoors. So I'll give him a little break for now, but by the end of the season, he's got to be consistently in the top 10.
My highlight of the weekend, the return of Jalik Swoll after only 2 or 3 weeks back on the bike, coming off an Achilles injury. Jalik, I kind of knew would be good for the Triumph team in the sense of when Jalik shows up, he's a good starter. He pushes really hard at the beginning. Even though the top 10 is stacked, I kind of figured like, okay, I think he can get a top 10 overall. And he did. He went 14.8. He really should have had an 8.8 on the board, which would have given him probably like eighth overall. If
Mhm.
so, Jalik actually, poor Jalik, fractured his foot in the first moto 10 minutes in. He told me he basically rolled his foot under the peg and he's like, is it the talus? He was talking about wherever the bone is on top of your foot. He goes, it's definitely, he goes, it crunched. And he goes, it is crunchy and it swole up. So he had to power through for that 14th. Still rebounded the second moto and got eighth for, again, a guy who not coming off the couch, but very low prep on a team that's had some really ups and downs here. I think he showed, breathed a little bit of life into the Triumph squad. Two great starts, great qualifying pace. I think he qualified sixth. And talking to team manager Scuba, he said even just in these 2 weeks of prep, Jalik has been 2 seconds a lap faster than their guys at home, and that's what he qualified ahead of them pretty much come qualifying time.
Yeah, when I interviewed him last week for us for Vital, he said like the way I've been the laps times I've had at the training facility, I feel like I should be top 5, top 7 if I can get a decent start. So yeah, minus the broken foot, that's probably about where he would have been. So I'm excited to have him back. Just his personality alone, he's a great guy to have under the paddock.
Yeah.
So yeah, he's gonna get better as the season goes too.
He's a fun one. Again, if you
Yeah.
check our post race podcast, I kind of had a little thing this week, and I was hitting everybody on the what you think of everybody just scoop because there was a couple riders that I talked to closely, like especially two of them. I said for the second 250 moto, I told them to go to Nobbies, and they didn't. And I get it, the start's everything, but Jalik, like just everybody, it's now the scoop war. And I said to Jalik, and Jalik straight up was like, I hope they ban that tire. He's like, he basically said, because I'm like, I'm seeing a few more high sides. Like, I'm not trying to blame it, but let's be honest. And Jalik's like, no, you have scary moments on it when it breaks loose finally. Because he goes, when it goes, it goes. He was pretty hard, and that's what I like about Jalik. Like some people label him as complain, but I think Jalik is very straightforward, and he was basically like, "No, I think we should ban that tire other than Southwick because it's getting ridiculous." And he's like, "It tears up the tracks really bad."
Yeah.
So I enjoyed that conversation with him,
Nice.
and he literally afterwards was like, "Please ask more people that I want to hear." And I mean, RJ, same way. RJ was pretty
Yeah.
against it. And some, like team managers were more like, yeah, we just run it. The guys run it. It's fine. But a few of the riders I talked to are kind of like, yeah, this is getting ridiculous. Like, that's all we ride now. Angelique was definitely one of them that was like, I think we're good. I think we may have to reconsider this in the future. But what I mentioned is good. I think it's good is like, Mickle, particularly in Jordan, have had really good mows. They've had a lot of bad luck. And I think with like Mickle went down twice in the first moto. Jordan's been down a lot. I didn't mean this in a bad way, not like, oh, Jalik showed him like, oh, look what you can do. It's more like those guys have had a really rough go recently. And it's
Hmm.
nice to have somebody like Jalik come in and just show like, okay, there's some good here. We can be top 10, we can get good starts, we can be there and just kind of refresh everything a little bit. So
Yeah. Triumph needed
hopefully
that. The Triumph PR guy needed that.
yeah, the trying PR. He needs a few other things right now.
Yeah.
Speaking of Triumph, Mickle her up 19-7 for 11th overall. That's one of the weirder scores I've seen in a while. Again, Mickle is down twice in the first moto. The one time I found him tumbling down a hill without his bike. Poor guy. 11th overall. The second moto was a big improvement for him. I thought it was good considering that was a very humid round.
Mhm.
Again, we were 90 degrees at near 90%, 100% humidity because of rain. So really impressed with Mickle there. Like rounds will continue to get hotter, but that was a good step for him. Looking down here, Volin, very consistent, 13, 13 for 12. Masterpool, still the speed is there, but the enigma that is his health, or I'm not really sure. 917 for 13th overall. I'm not trying to be the pessimist. I'm going to be the pessimist for a moment here. What the heck are those Tigermaster Cool going to do after this year?
Yeah. Well, I mean, okay, you just said 917 at High Point. So 416 at Thunder Valley, 416 at Hangtown. Like he's consistently inconsistent, but yeah, I don't know what he's going to do because he's not going to be at Pro Circuit, and he's kind of had multiple opportunities with factory level teams, whether it be Pro Circuit in the past, Star Racing, and he shows those signs, but you're not showing. I'd rather him show top fives, top sevens consistently than a third and a 15th, or like
Yeah,
you have to be more consistent somewhere, and he's just falling short. And I don't know what the health issue is. I guess was he sick again this weekend?
I didn't even ask.
Okay.
Honestly, I'm so
Something
befuddled at this
going on.
point. We'll wait till Southwick. We have a week break and try to catch
Okay.
up with him and see what the heck is going on there. Um, said Smith just Triumph guys down a lot. Jordan 14th. Star in general, I feel bad. Like Moseman 820 on the board. Moseman, I think, had a crash segment. Like as a whole, outside of course, of Hayden's 1-1 performance, but I said this to Will Hahn. I'm going to wrap Moseman and Manir into this conversation. I think what I saw on track was the best overall weekend for Star. Hayden, great performance. Nate finally getting up there. Moseman was maybe Moseman was the only one. Like he's had some really strong rides, but he still had a good day outside of the 20th. Like his speed is good. Manir crashed a bunch, but showed like he is capable of being right around the top 10 right now. Like he can be an 8th to 12th place guy. Definitely showing progress, like to the point, hey, after Loretta's, he probably does a few more. Definitely does futures next year, but I think we see Manir outdoors year all next year. But I think even though on paper it may not look them like the most amazing race for Star, I know they were very happy with the progress overall.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm most bummed about Moseman because I really like Michael Moseman, and he's also been super inconsistent. See him up front for a little bit, and then, like you said, what was it? What was his results? 20th, and last weekend, 38-17. This whole field is just so inconsistent. I don't know what that is. Like, what I guess they're crashing. I mean, I'm not there, so I don't necessarily see it all. You don't see everything on TV, but the, it wouldn't take that much, you would think, just to be a top five guy if you could just be consistent. Like, quit crashing.
Very simple. Just take Jamie's advice. Quit crashing
It
people.
didn't work for me yesterday, though,
Yeah.
so who knows?
Speaking a little bit of crashing, two people to wrap in the same conversation because there's a conversation around them is Ryder D. Francesco and Julian Beaumer.
Okay.
Ryder D has had since after the first round, kind of a rough go. I don't know if you can bring up his results, but he went 21-11 this weekend, but outside of the opening round, he like him and Casey started out the year good, and then Riders had a kind of abysmal couple weeks.
Yeah, 15,
Um,
14 last week, 17, 18 at Hangtown,
yeah,
17, 9 at Fox. So really one good moto.
yeah.
But
And
coming
then
back from very serious injuries.
yeah, and then Beaumer 1540. Julian the last four motos has been rough. The set, like, don't get me wrong, that last moto, his high side tumble past the mechanics area was big. So a little bit of a break there, but overall, both of them, I know there's conversation. They're both on Millsap's program and they're being pushed, not switch overall, but I've been heard that they're being pushed very heavily to head out of California and go to Baker's to get some back east riding, I think, for at least 6 weeks or something. So we'll see if any of that helps going into these next couple rounds. Because I will say, as somebody based down SoCal, man, our quality of training and riding has gotten really rough with our situation, our tracks being overcrowded and
Yeah.
very few open. So I'm curious to see if that helps those guys. So wait and see, as Lewis would say, check this space. Come Southwick, come the next four run to see if there's an improvement out of those guys. Um, One I'll touch on Schwartz, 4012. Dylan's been really like right around the top 10 quite a bit. Good for him in the Bar X squad. Drew Adams, kind of again a rough day. I feel like he's either really up front or I find him, my buddy Avery and Towers and a couple guys kind of around that 17th to 20th conversation. So he was 16th in the first moto. I missed his crash in the second moto, but I saw him after the race with his arm wrapped in like a soft cast. I just kind of made fun of him because he had like a claw hand. I waved him and I told him I would hopefully, I was saying bye to Cody. I was like, see you at Southwick. I pointed to him. I'm like, I hope I see you at Southwick. And he's like, yeah. He's like, hopefully.
Right.
He's got something. I don't know if it was ligament or bone or what. He was pretty down. I didn't want to bug him too much, but Drew definitely got dinged up there at the end of that second moto, and he would be a question mark for Southwick at this point. Still early for Drew. He's technically still under his amateur contract. He has a 2 year pro deal. It doesn't actually start till next year. So he is good for 26 and 27. So just learning and growing at this point. And when I say growing, hopefully that man quits growing because he's goddamn Garrett's height now. He just hasn't filled out as much. But
He's a big
hopefully,
boy.
hopefully Drew quits growing. He thinks he has. I hope for him he has. Whew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I thought we'd see a little more out of Drew than we have. Again, more like he had a fifth, he had a ninth. I kind of figured top 10 pretty regularly. So yeah, just I guess growing pains. We'll figure it out. He's really talented. He'll be fine.
Couple other man, I don't even want to comment at this point. The Forkner mystery continues. I know he's really focused on just getting through the season and finally completing a full year. Hopefully that mentally allows him to rebound because yeah, he's just I keep seeing him and Gavin Towers battling for like 18th, 19th, and 20th, and Turner and those kind of guys, and it's just so weird to see Austin back there.
Yeah.
And he doesn't look like himself. I hope it turns around. One other person I was going to touch on real quick, Reed Taylor made his pro debut. He's going back to Australia to deal some visa stuff. He went with the club team just outside the points, 22-22 for a kid that I kind of think of as more of a supercross prospect. Pretty decent first pro national. Not bad.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I didn't keep up with him too much during the day, but good results for a first time.
Yeah, a couple other kids just back through. A lot of kids kind of paving their way again. Somebody like Avery, decent run again this weekend. A lot of bad starts, battled through. CJ Bernard, bike issue, first moto, close to points in second moto, his rookie season. Parker Ross having a rough one. I know he had bike issues all last weekend. I'd have to check. He went 34, 36 this weekend, which probably tells me the same thing.
Yeah, that's disappointing.
So I know bum there. Briggs, bike issues, and then I don't know what happened to Fedostoff. 37-41, which means he didn't start the second moto, which would probably point towards a crash.
Yeah, I've been bummed on him. I think I really like that kid. I've got to know him a little bit, and I'd like to see him in the points. I think he's got the ability to be in the points every weekend. And just I don't know what's been going on. I don't know. Like yeah, some 20, 24, 23 last weekend. So he's either a little banged up or bike issues, like you say. There's something going on.
So, anything else that stands out to you from High Point, my friend?
No, yeah, you touched on the weather thing. I think that's the biggest thing is that there's a lot of good racing going on. It's just not for first and second. It's
Yeah,
more like second, third, fourth. So
And I haven't been watching the broadcast because I've been at the races, so I know if
Yeah.
what's showing. If you have a national in your area and you want to watch dudes kill each other for 15th place, let me tell you, there are dudes killing each other for 15th place, 10th place, 8th place, 22nd place. The battles are good. They're just not at the front at the moment. So
Yeah.
if you're not seeing it on the broadcast, I'm telling you, go check out your local national this year and go enjoy it. I definitely will say, like, track conditions, watching shooting. It's been one of my more favorite seasons to
Right.
physically be there, but I get it. The upfront battles might be a little mellow for most people at the moment.
On TV. Yeah. If you look at the lap charts, you can see guys up, down. The lap charts look like a roller coaster ride.
Oh
So
yeah.
there's a lot going on.
No, it's good. And talking to some guys that have done this a long time, guys that used to be near the points that are barely even qualifying for motos 5 years later, just tell me how stacked they think it is. And I know everybody likes Sync Up, but man, I will say usually I feel like 450 class is a little bit thin when we get to outdoors. It's pretty decent at the moment. I would think after the break, we should probably have the return of Justin Barsh in the 450 class. So add another factory bike in there. And then we are still expecting Chase Sexton to make his return come Redbud, which could be really interesting in the front field. Again, we didn't talk about earlier, but when you have that conversation of who can get some moto wins and potentially go over an overall, we'll see where Chase lands in there. Hopefully, he can bring a little more excitement to the 450 class to the front, end of the field and those battles and things like that. Because I think, Chase has nothing to lose coming into this in sense. So
All right.
maybe we get some really good performances out of him, which hopefully
I
could
hope so.
waken up this series a little bit.
Yeah. Regardless of Jett and Hayden being I'm just gonna say so much better than the other guys. That might get a little backlash. Some people might think that's I'm being a little too positive on those two guys, but second through fourth in both classes or second through fifth is there's a lot of good racing going on. There's a lot of excitement. We don't have any idea what's going to happen. So if you can look past Jett and Hayden, we have a hell of a series going on.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, oh, one other I have to, because again, I said I'm not very good at this. We have one
Which one?
other
Oh yeah, Motorex.
sponsor to thank, MotorX. I'm not good at the Tom Viall apology corner. Actually, it should be. We went 2-4 this weekend. Actually, I'm going to turn this into
Okay.
the Tom
Four
Viall
two.
I'm mystified by GP guys somehow being better at Supercross than Pro Motocross corner. And what I mean by that is I've debated this a few times. I am still continuously shocked that off the top of my head, the only MX2 world champ that's come over here and won our outdoor titles, Grant Langston.
Okay.
All these other great performers have come over and won Supercross titles, but outdoors is not on the cards. And with the position Tom is in, he will not change that as well. It looks like this year. So I don't know
Not
what to
looking
call it,
good.
the Tom Viall befuddled corner. I will call it for now. But it is brought to you by our friends at MotorX. MotorX, known for high quality engine oils, also has an entire line of clean care and lube products to keep your bike running strong and looking great. Maintenance made easy with race proven MotorX clean care and lube products. Please check them out. MotorX, a great sponsor of the not only the Red Bull KTM team, but both the Rockstar Energy Husqvarna and Rockstar Energy Gas program. And again, hopefully they will be taking care of Justin Barcia's bike when he returns at Southwick, which I think he will. I saw him riding in California this week. Since he didn't show up this week, I would think after the break he will
Okay.
most likely be back. So yeah,
Good to have him back.
as
He's a
always,
character.
thank you for joining the post race show on Vital MX, brought to you by Decal Works. Decal Works sponsors all of our post race content, and we'll see. I don't know. We have a week break coming up. Maybe Lewis will want to talk about his missing races if he's healthy enough. So maybe we'll have a show next week for the break for all of you. If not, I can nearly guarantee you that your regular host will be back in action come the Southwick round, and we can get back to our normal programming. As always, thanks for watching, listening. If you're on YouTube, like, subscribe. Thank you very much. And if you're podcast platform, if you're not already subscribing, please do so. And thank you for your help today, Jamie.
No worries. Hopefully I didn't deter any of the listeners.
No, only I deter listeners. I'm sure somebody heard my voice at the beginning, was like, F this, and clicked out.
Like that. Lewis isn't there. We're out.
We're out. Out. I get it. Anyways, thanks all for listening this week.